The reality is that the major output of any performance management system at the end of the day is about the rewards. I've talked severally about how to measure performance, the systems, the tools, and all those things you need to put in place to make sure that you have a top performing team. I haven't said all. It all culminates in how are they rewarded. It's a major output of a performance management system. And what I want to speak about today is about rewarding in the right way. And the reality is that rewarding is about recognition. That's it. It could be done in multiple ways, but at the end of the day, it's about recognition. My name is Deji Adebusoye. I'm a partner at Tailor Capital, and I'm the author of Scaling for Success, Empowering African SMEs. I want to speak a little bit about how you can incentivize and reward your top performance, your best performance on your team. Of course, this can also be applied broadly across the entire organization. One thing I like to tell people is that statistically, in every organization, you're going to have maybe 5 to 7% of your team members who are consistently exceeding performance. I'm talking about the excellent top performers, probably 5 to 7%. Then you probably have another 10 to 15% who are on the other extreme, who are not delivering, they are not measuring for whatever reason. Maybe they are not a right fit, or they just don't have the skills to perform at that level, but then there'll be that 10 to 15%. The largest part of your organization, 70% of your organization, are people that deliver the results. They are not exceptional performers, always over delivering on their targets, but they are not poor performance. They are meeting the needs of the business. So when I'm talking about rewarding employees, I'm not just talking about rewarding those few 7%. Of course, it has to reflect that those 7% are your exceptional performers, but it also has to, your normal performance, as it were, if I use that word, you also need to be recognized and rewarded, because whether you like it or not, they are 70% of your organization. And across every organization, if you think about, the normal distribution call, they're the ones that are always coming every day, delivering the results that they are asked to deliver. But how do you reward and make sure that everyone is motivated and they feel well incentivized for the work that they do? The first thing is the obvious thing that we all think about is the pay, is the salary. People have to buy food, they have to pay their rent, they have to send their kids to school. They want to feel that they are being paid competitively. Competitively does not mean that somebody who is working for a firm of 2-3 people who is earning $10,000 per annum as revenue wants to pay the same thing like somebody who's earning $10 million per revenue as a company. It's not the same thing. So you have to be aware of where you are as an organization, and you want to be competitive enough at that scale or at that level, because the reality also is that you are going to be competing for talent for companies that are similar to your level, or maybe a little bit up, one level up from where you are, which is where other things come into play. How do you retain talent when you cannot compete on salaries? There has to be other things, but the first thing is you want to make sure that you are paying your team members competitively. One of the things I've seen happen a lot of times is companies earn decent revenues. The CEO or the founder, the entrepreneur, that I'm saying, so that is listening to the video, you earn outsized income from the closest person to you in the organization. So you are probably the next person to you, and you are earning probably 10 times, 20 times, 15 times more than the next person in the organization. The reality is that your value as an employer or as the owner of the business is not in the salary you are earning today, it's in the value of your business. And for you to get that value, you have to make sure that you have people who are incentivized to help you build that value. So if you are competing with your employees on salaries, I think you have everything mixed up. You have it flipped the other way around, because they will not grow the business because they are not incentivized enough. So you earn your salary, yes, maybe you have a decent life now, but the ultimate value, which is probably 5-6 times what you are earning as salary, you don't get the benefit of that. So you don't want to compete with them on salary. Sometimes I've even seen people pay some of their employees more than they are earning, because they understand that principle, that their benefit is in the value that the business builds over time, especially when they now raise funds in the future or they exit that business, not in what they're earning today. But I'm also not saying that you shouldn't pay yourself, but make sure that it's well distributed such that you leave enough to be able to properly incentivize your employees. How do you make sure that you are paying competitively in your organization? One of the first things you want to do is you want to do a proper scope out of salaries of companies that are competing with you for talents. So I'll give a good example. When I was working with P&G, when P&G is scoping for talent or they want to do a benchmark, they are looking at other similar companies like Unilever, like PZ. What are people at the different levels? What are they earning? At Sayal Capital, we look at what are the different people, other private equity firms, private credit firms that are similar to ours in the same market like ours. What are they earning? Now, sometimes you have to recognize that, especially in the global village that we are now, you are competing beyond just the geography where you are sitting. Companies are hiring talents from the US, from Europe, and they are taking them out of the country. So you're not only competing locally, but you're also competing internationally. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you understand the salary scale of companies that you are going to be competing with for talents. There are many ways in which you can go about understanding that. You can, if you have friends in the industry, you can ask them what do you guys pay at the different levels. Share also your own information with them. This is what we pay at the different level. What do you pay your employees at these different levels? You can ask, you can do surveys. Although those are more expensive ways, if you go out and do surveys, you can do surveys. And an interesting way some other people have done is when they are interviewing for talents, they also use that to gather, information to understand what are salaries that are being paid around, and you use that to develop a band system of, okay, these are the salaries that you want to pay. Then you now have to understand at what stage do you want to compete within that salary band. So for example, let's assume on a certain level, maybe head of sales in different companies at your level, they earn, for lack of a better example, maybe they earn 2 to 3 million naira per month. And what you want to do is to ask yourself, since that band of what you've seen is from 2 to 3, where do you want to compete in that scale? Do you want to compete closer to 2 million or closer to 3, or in the middle of that scale? Most people that compete from the middle of the scale to the lower end of the band, they do that because they have other things, other benefits they provide to the employees that they feel will be a competitive advantage, to working with them, that employees will consider beyond the salaries. So that's a very important factor to add up. One of the things we did at L&Z was we did a salary band survey at some point, just to understand what are the different salaries for similar companies. And we're not only looking at dairy companies, local daily companies. We're also looking at the multinationals because we're competing for talents with L&Z, whether you like it or not. We're also looking at other FMCGs that were similar to L&Z, and we did that salary survey. One of the outcomes of that salary survey was we recognized that we were paying the employees actually much lower than market. We're not within the band, we're much lower. So there was a complete reordering of the salary bands. We improved the salary. What it meant was that everybody in the organization, their salaries went up, which of course was a bigger cost to the company. But the reality was that performance also significantly went up, and profitability went significantly up. At the end of the day, it did not matter that we did that salary increase. Everybody was happy. People put in the work, they put in the time, they put in the energy to grow the business. So the first thing is you want to pay competitively. The second thing is you want to create room for growth. Strong performers want to have a feeling of growth. The reality is that they don't compete. Most of them are not thinking about competition or measuring themselves just within your firm. They are measuring themselves with their peers in other firms. So they want to feel a sense of growth, a sense of ascendancy within the organization. Now, this might be difficult for you as a small organization because you don't have as much or as many levels through which you can promote people. So one of the things you can do if you're a small organization is create challenges for them, create opportunities for them to work on tough things. Don't hold all those things to yourself. If there are ideas, if there are things that they can work on, champion drive, give it to them, let them do that, so that in lieu of having opportunities to grow vertically, they can grow horizontally, increase their breadth, do more, dig deeper. And that sense gives them a feeling of they are growing, they're expanding, they are being challenged, and that also helps. But if you are an organization structure that you can improve, you can promote them, don't hold that too much. Let it be clear what you need to do to get to the next level. Once they achieve that, give them the opportunity to move to the next level. What you can also do is within band system. So for example, one of the things we did at L&Z was within a certain band, we created like 2 levels, so that within a short period of time, like 1 year or 2 years, you can get a promotion within that band level. Of course, it comes with an higher salary, but it has not moved you to like it's a different band. It's still within the same band, but there are like 2 levels within that band. So those are some of the things you can do in terms of moving them. One mistake that I see a lot of entrepreneurs also make, I see that across many SMEs in Africa, is that they hire people and give people positions based on their years of experience. So if you have 15 years experience, you should be senior to the person that has 10 years experience. That sounds logical, and it plays to one of the things I said in an earlier video of us having an hierarchical structure or mindset in Africa. But it doesn't work for business. You should not focus on the quantity of years, you should focus on the quality of the experience, not on the quantity of the experience. And that means that what that could lead to is that you could realize that somebody who has probably 5 to 7 years experience could be senior to somebody who has 10 years experience, maybe in something that is completely different and came into your organization. I've been in a position where I was, all the people that were reporting to me were all older than me. But because of what I brought to the table, there was the respect, there was the willingness to work with me, and I also, of course, did not shove that down their throats, right? We work together as a team. So don't make that mistake of saying that because this person has 50 years experience, that is what matters. No, focus more on the quality of the experience, the relevance of the experience for your business, rather than the quantity of years that are in there. Now, one other thing I also want to talk about is you need to understand the motivations of the people in your organization. What motivates them? You realize that there are some of your top performers that are not motivated by money. Some of them is the title that inspires them. They just want to become CEO one day, right? They are not motivated by the money. Some are driven solely by the money. No matter what you do for them, this is the money. Some is the challenge that drives them. Some, they want to be recognized. They want a global platform to be recognized on. So for example, those kind of people, when you have speaking opportunities, give them the opportunity to go and represent the organization to speak. You don't have to do it by yourself all the time. If somebody who is really inspired by, who is motivated by wanting to have a title, how do you make that happen for the person? Somebody who is inspired or motivated by challenges, how do you give that person more to do? How do you give that person a new, maybe you're trying to diversify the business or carve something out? Let the person go and build it. Let the person go and drive that process and build that part of the business. So you need to understand the motivations of the people, and that makes management very personal. It's beyond just saying, at the end of the day, as a CEO, your biggest job is managing people. You can't deliver the work yourself. Every business that scales on the back of people. Your own role as a CEO, as the entrepreneur, is to make sure that you are doing the proper work of a coach. Think about a football manager. If you are into football, the coach is not on the field playing. Rather, he's standing on the bylines and he's looking at the team. Who is the best person to put in attack? When should I remove that person and bring somebody else in? Who should I substitute? How do I make sure that I manage team energy and dynamics? That's what you're doing as an entrepreneur. You're not the one on the pitch running around. So if you cannot pay that personal attention, understanding the motivation of your team members, then you're probably not achieving the goal of being able to reward appropriately. There are other means by which you can also achieve this. One is, for example, giving employees stock options. This is giving shared ownership of your business to employees. And that is something that is becoming increasingly popular, especially at a certain level, and for your strong performance. You want to give them some equity stake in the business so that it increases their, one, willingness to stay, two, their drive to grow the business, because they understand clearly that value is created, and as that value is being created, it translates to them to economic opportunities, economic wealth. So you want to make sure that you are helping them to understand that there are ways in which you can manage the employee option, because you might be worried that what if I give them stake in the business today and they leave? There are ways around that. There are things around vesting opportunities, for example. So if I give you shares, I give you like maybe 5% or 1% share in the business, that 1% will vest maybe over 4 years, meaning that you don't get the full 1% today. It's 1% you get or 5% that you have, but after the first year, only 25% of that will vest that you own. After the second year, another percentage will vest. So by the time you have the full ownership of that 5% that you have been given as an employee, you're already 4 or 5 years in the business, and at that point, you probably already see the trajectory and you want to stay and continue to grow. Lastly, one of the things that I will talk about in rewarding your employees is giving them an opportunity to upskill themselves, helping them to grow, giving them training opportunities, giving them opportunities to, like I said, go speak at conferences, go represent the organization, give them an opportunity to grow their skills. There's a funny story I've shared before that a CEO and a CFO were having a conversation, and the CEO was saying that, look, we need to build our team, we need to train them, we need to help them grow. And the CFO was saying, if we train them, what if they leave? And the CEO says, if we don't train them, what if they stay? That means that there's a race to the bottom. So the idea is that train them, let them grow, let them see every day that they are growing, they are improving their skills, they are becoming better people. That is one of the ways by which you can properly reward your team members. In conclusion, focusing on rewarding your team is both a science and an art. You want to make sure that you understand the way and the structures to reward them, but you also want to make sure that you are combining the right sets of incentives to properly motivate your employees to continue to deliver and grow and support you to scale your business. Thank you very much for listening in. Do like, comment, share, subscribe to this channel so that we can continue to make videos like this that will help SMEs in Africa and entrepreneurs to scale and grow their business. Thank you very much.